Right. Okay, so the whole topic of remasters and remakes. This is a kind of wildly disputed sort of ordeal. A lot of people think it's a waste of time. A lot of people think, no, we need these. We're not going to see any future titles for a game. We need these sorts of things to keep coming. Others see them as cheap cash grabs and just all sorts of problems. Every time they come out, you're gonna see a bunch of people flipping out on both sides of the spectrum, and I think it's kind of time to just sit down and maybe examine this a little more closely. But where to begin with that? Well, we think probably the best starting point is what is a remaster and what is a remake, because that's two distinctly different things. So,
what's a video game?
To begin, we need to go back to what is a video game.
I think the audience will have more than like 4 IQ points to know what a video game is. I think we're good with that.
You see, it all began with the radar operators fiddling around with shit and making Space War.
Oh yeah, that's where tennis came from, right?
Yep, Space War.
So the sports game Tennis is a remake of Radar Tennis. Gotcha.
Yes, exactly. That's all that Pong is.
And it all comes back to video games. I knew it.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's easy to kind of tell, like, between the difference between a remake and a remaster. A remake will be something more into the ground up, but like building up a whole new engine, using it to run in a different way than what the previous game did. Be it because of how old the system was and what they were able to get around with, and now they're able to do a lot more from more than just graphics fidelity. And then you got a remastered, which is basically just kind of be like, hey, turn on anti-aliasing. Wow, it looks so pretty. Okay, ship it PS3.
Pretty much. I mean, in blunt terms, that's pretty much straight to the point right there, is putting it that way. I think in the cases for some remakes, it's a chance to also bring out maybe the original vision of a game, or a chance to expand upon the story or the gameplay, because some of them pull that off. I think even Final Fantasy VII's remake kind of altered the story and added more gameplay elements. Not to mention the combat system got overhauled. Wow.
Yeah, that's in itself is like a whole, like, it's like almost like a revision on top of it being a remake as well.
Pretty much. I mean, that accurately describes it, and if that doesn't help sink it in, then let's point out a few complete remakes, and then a few remasters. So, what's some remakes?
Resident Evil, GameCube.
Yep, the GameCube game was a remake of the original on PlayStation 1, and then we saw it remastered on PS4 with the Origin collection that included Zero and the first game. So
there you go.
That's a rare example that underwent both a remake and remaster.
Now you guys know absolutely the difference between a remake and remastered. Alright, roll credits!
I don't think it's that simple. But let's fire off just a couple others, maybe to help hammer the point home. Shadow of the Colossus on PS4, that's a remake. Pokemon Fire Red, Leaf Green, Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. God, what other ones are there? Spyro. Spyro was technically a complete
Crash.
remake. Yep, Crash Bandicoot's Insane Trilogy. What else? Ratchet and Clank.
Yes, the one for the PS4. Well, that's almost more like a reboot, would you? Well, no, it kind of went the same trials as, like, the original game, would you say? Just took a little bit of liberty so that it became kind of like a movie tie-in sort of thing?
Yeah, more or less, pretty much. I'd say that's accurate.
Yakuza Kiwami. Wait, no.
Kiwami's a remake, technically.
Well,
It's Zero that's a remaster.
Yeah, Zero's the remaster of Kiwami. The first one will be considered a remake because I believe in the original game on the PS2, it was kind of more like static cameras running around the place, while this one actually gives it in more of a third person over the shoulders while adding a whole bunch of stuff. Also, again, different engine.
Yeah, different engine kind of helps it a lot.
And then you got Kiwami 2, who did the exact same thing too as well. They used the engine from 6 and put it on to 2.
Yeah. really changed it up, and I guess they kind of helped bring out the original vision of that game, because I'm pretty sure they added even more content into it.
Oh my god, that game looks so good too.
Oh yeah. Any other examples you want to list, or want to flip it over to the other side now?
Oh, Crash Team Racing, duh.
Oh yeah, I forgot that's a thing.
And then as a remake, also listen, we can't forget Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Yeah, those are the big contenders right now, and supposedly 4 is next up on the block for remakes.
I'm scared.
I think 2 is honestly kind of like a definitive example of a remake, just because of how incredible it came out.
Yeah, I'm wondering how they're gonna try to like do this, because you know, with how Resident Evil 3 went around and how some people were a little bit more in the mixed bag with how they kind of handle it. People are just kind of like, was this worth $60? I don't think so.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, we'll flip it over to what's a remaster. Okay, well, Shadow of the Colossus and Ico saw a remaster on PS3, so did... Really, there was a lot of remasters on PS3. The Sly Collection, the Jack Collection, Ratchet and Clank Collection.
You know what? Didn't a lot of them kind of said, like, the... at the end, it's like HD Collection or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of them did.
Yeah, but the sad thing is that, isn't that also... I might be getting this confused with, like, maybe the PS Vita, because I think they also had the collection as well, too, but they also ran very bad.
They had those collections, all of them. I think most notably, the Jack and Daxter collection ran horribly on Vita, though. For some reason, the PS3 version is the one that runs the best and technically kind of looks the best.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Hell, I even got the Jack 2 on my PS4, and it runs pretty decently on that with the HD stuff on it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then we could jump into the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, Last of Us saw a remaster. Final Fantasy's gotten a lot of remasters this generation. Like X, X2, and 12. Mario Kart 8 is a remaster for the Switch, technically.
Honestly, I think that's probably a huge list we can put down for remasters once we hit like the generation with the PS3, 360, and I wouldn't say exactly on the Wii, but there were a few games I ported from like the GameCube back then, from like Pikmin or whatever. But that's not exactly a remastered either. It's just kind of ported over. So we definitely got to know the difference between like what's being like pushed over and they're actually doing something to it, or they're just kind of like, throw it on there. It'll probably sell again. The Nintendo way.
That is technically what Nintendo's been doing with the Switch. Everything that had the chance for success on the Wii U, but failed because it was the Wii U, we'll just bring it over to Switch.
Yes.
And now Pikmin 3 is the newest example of that, and one of the final things left in the Wii U's library.
Yeah, so it's not a remake, it's not a remaster, it's just a re-release.
Yeah, that's probably a more accurate way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make up for it by saying Burnout Paradise Remastered and Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered then.
Yes. Actually, it came out for free on the PlayStation Store for the Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. That you can actually get the campaign for free for the month, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I need to give it a try, because I played through Modern Warfare's Remaster, and I'm like, wow, I forgot how cool this game and its story was. This was a good experience, and now I'm kind of looking back at 2, like, I remember enjoying you, so I need to give you a go again.
I gotta jump in to actually play with my friends with Age of Empire, because they actually got the HD edition of that, and I remember playing that a whole lot with the original game back in, like, when PCs only had, like, Pentium Intel.
Yeah.
Spent so much time in playing RTS games back in the time. Let's see. I mean, technically another remaster would be Shadow of the Colossus, but for the PS3.
Yeah. So that...
Not the PS4 one.
That kind of works pretty much, and I guess the final examples to squeeze in just really quick. Metro Redux, it's technically just a remaster. They did some asset or model swapping and a little bit of upscaling, but you boil it down and it's just a remaster. Metal Gear Solid HD, there's one more, and yeah, that about wraps it up. There's a lot more we could list, but just to kind of keep things simple and shorter.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what's on top of my head of what I even own on over here. I'm sure we only listed like 5% of what we could have actually listed in this whole video.
Oh, there's
we're not
more.
Here to know we're not here for the difference of that. We're here to be like, hey, how do we feel about this?
Yeah. So, to just pretty much boil it down, with all that considered, what each one actually is, well, how do you feel about them? Because there's so many people groaning each time that stuff gets remastered, remade, and then there's so many people begging for a title that they're attached to from when they were growing up to come out. Like, just off the top of your head, what's something that you would really want a remaster or a remake of?
Sonic Adventure.
Yep.
I'm gonna be the Sega fanboy who's gonna be reaching out to my cringy Sonic days. But fuck you, I want that. Also, give Sonic Shuffle another chance. Don't listen to Game Grumps. They don't know what they're doing.
No, it's understandable. That Sonic Adventure was a highlight and kind of like the special title for a lot of people to really get into that series. And here's one that I think we'd both jump on. We'd want a Burnout remastered collection. And we're talking like 3 and Revenge and maybe Dominator.
I still have very, very high great memories of Revenge to this day, and as much as I enjoy playing Paradise City, as much even with the remaster and everything, I just kind of want to go back to the more arcade kind of like visionary of, you know, select the level, do this, okay, do that, cool.
You want to go back to the linear experience on the set track, and it was just complete chaos versus, hey, we're in an open world and anything can happen. It's like, yeah, anything can happen, but you're not gonna get it quite on the scale of something that was built for this to happen. It was built...
Yeah. Traffic checking sucks in Paradise City. I hate it.
It's more or less non-existent.
It's so freaking good to feel it on Revenge, because you could really get revenge on that.
Yeah. And while, yeah, you can technically do it on Paradise City, it doesn't have there isn't a lot built around it. It doesn't have a lot of functionality. It doesn't work the way it used to.
Yeah, if you poke a car that's maybe the same size or smaller than you, it'll probably push it like 6 feet in front of you, and then drive off.
Either you're gonna wreck or have a drive off, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, we'll kind of also shift into this. Does it always feel like is your immediate thought like, okay, this is just a cheap cash grab. Come on, guys, why aren't you working on a new game? Does this really need this?
Well, I guess it kind of depends on like how you see with like what they're doing for either a remake or remaster. Do you value one over the other? Do you want to go more from like, if you're gonna make something, make it newer and implement stuff that we have nowadays, or do you want to go to a remaster and be like, keep it mostly the same, but just make it a little better, maybe some quality of life, and just keep my nostalgia in place.
Yeah,
I think it's all about how the different people views on all that. Because I remember it was a little bit of a problem with all those collections happening on the PS3 360 era, where a lot of them was kind of coming out, and especially for the Metal Gear Solid or the Silent Hill, when that HD collection came out, and as bad as it kind of did, especially on, I believe it was the 360 that couldn't get patched out. People were just kind of clamoring for a more, you know, just make another Silent Hill game, and a good one, please. Yeah. Homecoming doesn't exist. Shoot, go away.
That's pretty much Silent Hill in a nutshell lately. After PT, everyone's like, come on, we need something to fill that void. Give us something good. Give us something big, tangible.
Yeah, but I feel like now with me being the quote-unquote adult, I'm using heavy quotations here, that I actually now have the money to go back and maybe play some of these games that I didn't have a chance to. So having these HD collections, be it a good way for me to play these games I couldn't play from like the PS2, the Xbox edition of the series. So I can actually get that, pick it up for like $10, $20, $30 nowadays, and then play it myself. So now I see the value in it, but back then I think some people were a little bit skeptical and being like, is this all we're going to get for this console generation?
Yeah. Sometimes it just winds up feeling like a slap in the face to, okay guys, you ready for this entry in your series, this big entry, and then you get something, well, like Skyrim Remastered, for example. We've seen that so many times now that it's a joke. It is a genuine joke. But the problem is, a lot of people do keep buying it, so you kind of have to weigh it in your hands like, okay, well, it's enough, but Todd Howard said it himself. We'll stop doing it when people stop buying it. It's clearly selling, there's clearly people returning to it. So... But at the same time, you just see how many times they're doing it, and it's like, come on, this feels like a cash grab. When is enough enough?
Todd Howard is a cash grab in general. Put his face on anything.
Oh god.
It worked for 76 for so long.
Yeah. And what's another example? Look at Grand Theft Auto 5 right now. People were pretty furious that PlayStation 5 opened up their, like, you know, big reveal event with, hey guys, GTA 5 Online is coming. And here's everyone going, where's 6? Where is 6? Why are you doing this?
Honestly, I thought it would be a much better game if they went for like Red Dead Redemption 2, because then putting it on a console so that it looks even prettier, like how some do on the PC, I think would have been like a really big step up. And with the SSDs that they have inside there, loading times will be like a thing of a past. Maybe a couple of seconds, and then suddenly you're already loaded in the world, instead of waiting for about a minute and a half on the PS4.
Yeah.
But it's selling, like you said, and Grand Theft Auto 5, people are like, hey, we can buy money.
That's the thing about it, for example. So Red Dead on PC, it does take advantage of ray tracing and stuff. It looks absolutely amazing. And if you port it to PlayStation 5, you can utilize the actual visuals more on that. But instead, they're going straight to GTA 5, and that's just like, well, it's because you can monetize the online better on that game than Red Dead, ain't it? You're getting so many people buying your shark cards, wanting to get the newest car that's just drastically flipping out the game, or the newest gadget, the newest thing to put in your garage, like a jet or whatever. Versus, okay, in Red Dead Online, what can you get? A horse or whatever? I don't know, I haven't kept up on it much, but I can clearly imagine that it's not getting the attention that GTA Online is getting, where they're throwing in heists and all this crazy big stuff.
Well, they already got like a whole bunch of backlash on Red Dead Redemption 2 as well. Like, even with like how long they took to try to port it over to the PC, even like initially with even their launcher, they were having a lot of problems with some even high-end PCs to try to get it running even decently, or having it randomly crash. And then the online servers were all like super busted. And it has like a little bit of rampant cheaters, I think, at some point. And then also, like, you're required to kind of use a lot of money to get, you know, that gold that they have there, so you can buy like the higher end stuff that makes you, you know, progress better and actually have better weapons. So it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
So that's maybe one reason why. But with, I guess it also depends with like how people play games as well, because, you know, blowing up a building is probably a little bit better than blowing a tree up that had a bear. You know?
Yeah. But, yeah, that's one point in itself right there of just what feels maybe more like it's just a quick attempt at a cash grab or whatever.
You know how many people might get super pissed off when Sega's coming in and be like, we're finally doing it, you guys. We're bringing you guys Sonic Adventure Collection. Sonic 1 and 2 for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. What?
Collections is a whole different can of worms, I'm afraid.
Oh, man.
But, here's one that I've kind of been thinking about lately. There's rumors floating around of, hey, Metroid Prime Trilogy, it's supposed to be coming to Switch. Supposedly it's already made. What's another one? Mass Effect Trilogy, supposedly coming to the PS4, or maybe even PS5. And that's something where I kind of stop and I think to myself, yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I'd like that. I would pick that up, whether it's just a remaster or whatever.
If they make it like a remaster for like the newer stuff and whatnot, that means I better be expecting like 4K resolution and shit at the very least, because that game's back from the 360 era. You don't need a whole lot to try to get the polished enough to look decent. At least make some of the faces a little less scary.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And Mario had to write the humans better.
Yeah. And maybe this is something that, the whole remake topic could come into. The fact that, to a lot of people, 1 has not aged well from Mass Effect. A lot of people can't stand to even attempt to play Mass Effect 1 because of just how poorly and differently it feels from the rest of the series in terms of gameplay.
Oh yeah, they really strayed away from what all that jank was and made a good improvement on 2. However, would a remake on 1 be good? Because if they do that, then you gotta know whether they're gonna do the same story with the Reapers, or if they're gonna do a slightly different story. The characters, are they still gonna be there? Are we still gonna get Tali or Garrus and everyone else, or are they gonna do a whole new thing? And then your choices will matter in those 2 games. And hopefully, we won't have the same kind of ending disaster like in 3.
Yeah. And some people might right now be saying, well, why wouldn't you remake the whole trilogy? It's because it's an RPG. You have to understand how much there is going into that. How many choices that you're going to be, redoing from the ground up. How much dialogue stuff. Just how much everything would be redone on that.
I think this is a good thing to top off because of how scary a remake could be. And I don't think we dive into the dangers of trying to do something to an old game to make it better, but how far is better. I mean, even with the recent Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the game itself, it's pretty decently for what it is. People are pretty happy with it, but they feel a little bit more let down from what 2 was, because how much they implemented on that, how extra replayability it is, how good it is to play for the characters. But with how far they went in Resident Evil 3, some feel a little dissatisfied with what they put their money down for. And just excluding even the cost of what that multiplayer is. But some people even feel the original Resident Evil 3 was better than the remake of 3 because Nemesis feels like he's actually stalking you, a la Resident Evil 2 Mr. X. But now he's just a souped up. Maybe he'll look at you through the window sometimes.
The other thing
it almost feels like.
Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say that Nemesis feels almost like a slight demake off of the original Resident Evil 3. So now, when we're thinking about Resident Evil 4, and that's getting a remake, 4 beforehand, with all of the remasters it's gotten and everything, is basically almost like the Skyrim of video games, because of how many times it got ported over, and people are still buying it. I still bought a lot.
Yeah.
I'm very guilty of that. But I'm just thinking, is it going to be par? Am I going to be disappointed if it's not even slightly as good as how 4 was? Is this something that should continue doing? Are they going to do it for 5 and 6? Should we continue to ask for that? I don't know.
And here's one other thing to quickly add on to that. 2 felt like it was just really lovingly well done and very thoroughly well done. They clearly put in so much hard work and effort into that, and you got lots of hours out of it, you got lots of everything. And I haven't exactly played the original much myself, only a little bit. The only thing I know that was missing was, you ran around Raccoon City a little bit more at the beginning of that game. That's all I'm really aware of. But to walk away from that, it was still absolutely amazing. Just seeing how good of a job that they did on that, and deserved all the love and praise it got. You move on to 3, and now you're looking at a slightly different beast. They completely altered Nemesis and kind of reduced him down to a very small amount on that. You expected to see him more. Instead, you only got him during a very small part early on in the game, and then from there, he just kind of pops up at these select few points and goes through a couple transformations, and that's it. They cut out considerable parts of the game, it sounds like, even the multiple choice stuff, or paths.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the bell tower so that we can shock Nemesis while he gets very wet.
Yeah. So there's that to bear in mind. Just overall, you could say that Resident Evil 2 felt like a very genuinely well done remake. You look at 2 and now, or not 2, you look at 3 and now it's like, okay, is this entering just the cash grab territory? Did they just rush through this desperately wanting to kind of rebuild or recapture the success that they just experienced?
I think if they wanted to do that, that's fine by me. If they wanted to try to like, do a whole like reboot of the series to make it a little bit more on the edgier side, I think that's fine with what they're doing, especially with, like what they've done with like 7, what they're going to be doing with 8 soon, and try to like mitigate like what 6 and 5 was, so that it make it a little bit more consistent and hopefully a better brand for the Resident Evil. But I think they probably should have took like an extra year, maybe a year and a half, to kind of add in the extra stuff to make Resident Evil feel more like Resident Evil. Resident Evil 2 had a lot of puzzles. Resident Evil 3, it didn't have as many. I'm talking about the original.
Yeah.
The 3, it had not nearly as much. There was a few puzzles here and there, but it was still kind of there. But that's about it. The newer ones, Resident Evil 2, I think slightly had a very less amount of puzzles versus its old counterpart, but they were still good enough to be like, this key goes there, here, this goes there, and I found this page that tells me the safe code for this one over here. Awesome. Resident Evil 3, there's like almost none of it. There's like maybe 2 or 3 parts that require that. One thing I did like is when you're going through the lockers in the police building, if you remember the code from Resident Evil 2, it works for 3, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did too.
But yeah, again, like a lot of the puzzles got cut out, along with like some of the parts that got cut out as well. Like again with the clock tower, because you can't go in there and make the music box or try to get the whole thing rotating so you can make the sounds go off, and then suddenly it's like helicopter, cool. Nope, not that here.
There was just significantly less all around in that one.
Also, having the barricade in the hospital is not as cool to being barricaded in the in like a church to try to keep the evils away, like Nemesis in their original.
Yeah, which it's like you said earlier, 4 is coming now too, and let's take a moment to point out the fact that this is a lot of people's entry point into the series. It was mine, and it's a lot of people's favorite title too in the series.
That's so interesting because mine was actually Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, I think 3 was more like an in-between point for a lot of people.
Yeah,
it was either 2 or 4. It sounds like for most people.
Mm-hmm.
And now looking at 4, it's like you have a tall order to fill, a very, very tall order to fill. If you're doing a remake, then do it the justice it deserves. If you want to go through with this, then all hands on deck, go through with it. Don't start cutting out significant portions of the game. Don't start, just making a lot of unnecessary changes. If you want to try and build upon it and make it even better, alright, just make sure you're giving it the attention it deserves. That's what I boil it down to at the end of the day.
Look, I mean, I don't ask for much from you, Capcom. I don't buy a lot of your games. I'm not a big Mega Man guy, but let me tell you what. You keep that motherfucking merchant inside there. We better make sure that he has that funny Australian accent.
That's all that matters at the end of the day.
And there's got to be one part, just one part, where when you do like a final shot on whoever going to be the big guy, if it's going to be Sadler again or whatnot, he should be the one to do a rocket launcher shot with you, side by side. Just once. I just want him to kill something with me. That's all I want.
Give the merchant the spotlight he deserves.
Wait, no, I take it back. There's one thing you can remove. The stupid-ass garden, the maze garden with the dogs. I hate that part. I have a panic attack every time I go through it. And not the good kind, like, oh, this is scary. It's more like, animals!
No, I get what you mean there. Oh my god.
Okay, so how do I feel about this? Like, in conclusion, I think they should continue to do it on a personal standpoint. Mostly because, especially if it's games that are like highly deserved, but maybe they didn't get the attention they needed and need to be ported over or remastered so it looks a little nicer. I think that's fine enough as it is. Remakes, especially for big series like Resident Evil, just to start it off with, yeah, if you want to do something new and make it even better for like the newer gamers, so they can get even more attention to the brand of it all, I think that's fine too. but
Okay.
try not to, overstep it. And this is all that you're going to be doing. Like, they got Resident Evil 3, but they're also doing Resident Evil 8, which is great because people are excited for where people.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a good point.
And again,
I'd say it can't be your only focus. It's just constantly, okay, everyone, let's relive all this. Let's all keep basking. It's like you're doing this every console generation. You keep putting these out as much as you possibly can on every single platform as you possibly can. There's a point where you're crossing a line with this. Try and at least put out something new.
again, that was probably it. I think a lot of people felt that very strongly when it was around the PS3 360 era, I believe.
Yeah.
But ever since the 4 and Xbox One came out, they've been doing pretty good with like not doing anything like that, or at least if it's a collection, there's a pretty decent collection going out there. Like the Rare collection with like the 30 games inside there from like the arcades in like the 70s or 80s to like Cameo. I think that was the name for the 360.
I don't think. Actually, no, you might be right. I can't remember if Cameo was on it, but yeah, I know what game you're talking about. I know. I bought that collection for Conquer and Jet Force Gemini because those held a special place to me, and that's another reason people buy into these is, hey, I didn't get to experience this. Give me a chance. Oh, sweet. And that kind of does also play a big factor. Look at how Nintendo's handling their ROMs and everything now. It's like, okay, well, how else are we expected to get our hands on this game? Shell out $200 for a special copy of this game on GameCube? Or something like that? Like,
be careful, don't talk to Nintendo like that. They'll hear you and be like, oh, you want another sports game from the NES era? Here you go. Only for people who have online, please.
Oh, God, no, please.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, they do have their place around right now. It's just, I think you can tell when there is no real heart or soul behind one.
Yeah. And I think it probably speaks more clearly to the people who are like, especially now in their 20s and 30s nowadays, who probably also is an adult, have their own consoles, and they want to play the games they may have missed out on. Like, yeah. I can't wait to play Pikmin 3 on the Switch. Woohoo! Never owned a Wii U. Yeah. It's just a re-release, but still.
Exactly. It brings a lot of opportunities to finally pick up on something that you never got the chance with. And that's how I felt about the Spyro collection. I got to pick up on a part of that I wanted to have when I was a kid so much, but I never got to, and then picking it up on the Reignited trilogy finally gave me that chance, and I was so thrilled, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I say the biggest thing to take away from all this is, like, if you like remakes, if you like remasters, or a re-release, or anything in between, I think the biggest thing you could do is vote with your wallet. If people like it, and it's actually a good remake, remaster, release, or whatever, people should buy it, play it, and let them have the money to be like, hey, we like this. Put this effort in another game, please.
Yeah. And the other suggestion is just keep being vocal about wanting a sequel. Be civil about it, though. Please. Be civil about it.
Yeah, I don't think death threats are working with anyone at all. Otherwise, it probably would have worked on EA a long time ago.
Ain't that the truth? But yeah, I think that's a nice way to ultimately wrap all that up.
I think that sounds good to me.
Alright. Well, how about we call it there, and we'll see what we come up with next time, or what else is floating in my brains.
Yes, sir.
Alright, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
See you all next time.
See ya.